They told you the game was fair, that if you worked hard, followed the rules, waited your turn, and kept your head down, the gates of success would open for you. That if you were a good person, patient and polite, one day your reward would arrive, wrapped in certainty. But they lied, not because they wanted to harm you, but because they themselves never left the prison they were born into, a prison with no walls, no bars, only beliefs. And belief is the first chain, the silent killer of potential, the invisible force that takes a lion and convinces it that it's a sheep. Most people stay average, not because they lack talent, intelligence, or luck, but because they accept the lie that their current circumstance is their permanent reality, that what they see is all there is, that their story is already written in stone. But the truth? The truth is terrifying and liberating all at once. You are the author. You are the sculptor of the life you're living, whether you admit it or not. And until you claim the pen, until you grab the chisel, the world will keep carving you into what it needs, not what you were meant to become. This is why most people stay average, because it's easier to be shaped than to shape, easier to complain than to conquer, easier to react than to rise. But you're here, not by accident. Something deep in you refuses to settle, refuses to accept mediocrity as your ceiling. That something, that quiet fire, is your reminder that you were not born to blend in. You were born to break through. Look around. We live in the age of illusion, scrolls of highlight reels, filters masking fear, influencers selling inspiration, but living imitation. The average man today isn't chained by steel, he's chained by comfort, by comparison, by convenience. And the most dangerous comfort is the one that doesn't feel like pain. Mediocrity is disguised as normal, and normal is the silent assassin of greatness. Thomas Edison didn't wait for approval. He burned through over 1,000 failures until he lit up the world. Henry Ford didn't accept impossible when they told him the assembly line would never work. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Imagine that. These men didn't have a map. They didn't have certainty. They had clarity. They had vision. And most of all, they had belief so loud it silenced every critic, every setback, every voice that said, you can't. Because when you decide that your life is yours fully, painfully, beautifully yours, something shifts. You stop outsourcing your power. You stop handing your future to chance. And you begin the war that most run from, the war against average. Average doesn't knock. It creeps. It whispers. It feeds you just enough success to stay quiet, just enough validation to stay numb. It tells you, you're doing okay. Why risk more? But okay is the enemy of outstanding. Comfortable is the enemy of legendary. And average is the deathbed of unrealized potential. To break free, you must first kill the myth of permission. No one will come and knight you with destiny. No one will appear with a scroll saying, now is your time. You must declare it. You must decide it. You must be so convicted in your purpose that the world begins to bend around your will. Because clarity is not gifted, it is forged. It is born in solitude, in silence, in long walks without your phone, in journaling the fears you're too scared to say out loud, in confronting the mirror with brutal honesty. Who are you becoming? Who do you pretend to be? Don't look away. That discomfort, that sting, that's the beginning of clarity. Clarity leads to vision, and vision is dangerous to the mediocre, because a man with vision becomes unstoppable. He no longer needs motivation. He becomes it. His fire doesn't flicker in the wind, it burns beneath his bones. When you have vision, your mornings become sacred. Your time becomes priceless. Your energy becomes a weapon. You begin to say no to the distractions that used to seduce you. You begin to say yes to the version of yourself that terrifies you, the one who could actually become great. Most people stay average because they fear that version, not because he's weak, but because he's powerful. Because stepping into greatness means letting go of the excuse that you are a victim of life. And victimhood is a warm blanket. It gives you identity, it gives you sympathy. But it also steals your sovereignty. To break free, you must declare war on that part of you that still waits, that still hopes someone else will come fix it, that still believes one day is a strategy. That part must die. Because as long as it lives, average will own you. Discipline is the battlefield where freedom is earned. You will not rise by emotion. Emotion is a traitor. Some days you'll feel inspired. Some days you'll feel like quitting. It doesn't matter. What matters is consistency. Daily, ruthless, disciplined, whether you feel like it or not. Because emotion is temporary. Identity is permanent. Act like the man you want to become. Speak like him. Walk like him. Move like him. The world doesn't give you what you want, it mirrors what you are. Become the signal, not the noise. Alexander the Great conquered kingdoms before 30, not because he had better maps, but because he believed in his blood that he was destined. Destiny isn't given, it's taken. By force, by faith, by ferocity. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop negotiating with average. You stop explaining your dreams to people too afraid to chase their own. You stop trying to convince others, and instead you convince yourself. Conviction is the currency of greatness, and the price is high. It will cost you your comfort, your convenience, your ego, your laziness. It may cost you friendships, sleep, sanity, but it will give you something the average will never know, meaning the deep, resounding, soul-crushing kind of meaning that makes life worth it. Most people never taste it. They settle for happiness. But happiness is an emotion. Meaning is a state. A man with meaning can walk through fire and still rise. Because he's not chasing pleasure, he's chasing purpose. And purpose is not a feeling. It is a decision, a burden, a sword. Purpose is a sword, and it cuts through noise, through doubt, through the 1,000 excuses that scream for your attention every single day. When you wield it with intention, when you hold it in your hands with the grip of a man who has nothing left to lose, something ancient awakens in you, something primal, something undeniable. The average man looks for balance. He seeks to have it all, without understanding what all even means. But the man who breaks free, he knows. You cannot hold greatness in one hand while clinging to comfort in the other. One must fall. And when you finally let comfort fall, truly let it go, you will feel naked, exposed, vulnerable. But vulnerability is not weakness. It's raw power, stripped of performance. Most people stay average because they wear masks. The mask of I'm fine, the mask of I've got time, the mask of one day. But underneath their spirit is starving. And the truth? The truth is, your soul does not care how many likes you get. It does not care if your job title sounds impressive. It does not care how well you play the role. Your soul only wants one thing: to grow, to evolve, to become. Growth, however, demands pain. The pain of shedding old skin. The pain of watching people fall away as you rise. The pain of waking up one day and realizing you don't recognize your old life anymore. That's not failure, that's transformation. That's the price of leaving the average behind. Ask yourself, do you want to impress people or impact the world? There's a difference. One is surface, the other is soul. Impact doesn't come from shouting louder. It comes from living deeper, from choosing alignment over applause, from choosing your calling over their expectations, from trusting the whisper within over the noise without. Look at Abraham Lincoln, a man born into poverty, self-educated, laughed at, doubted, defeated in election after election, but he kept standing, not because he loved the pain, but because the cause was louder than the comfort. The vision was heavier than the fear. That's what separates the few from the many. The few are willing to burn the bridge back to average. They're willing to live misunderstood, to walk alone, to suffer, to delay the reward, because they know deep down that every great life demands a sacrifice. You cannot cheat that law. You want freedom? Sacrifice comfort. You want clarity? Sacrifice distraction. You want power? Sacrifice your victimhood. You want love? Sacrifice your ego. And if you want legacy, the kind that echoes after you're gone, you must sacrifice everything that does not align with your highest self. Because legacy isn't built in moments of applause. It's built in the dark, in the grind, in the silence between the battles where no one is watching. That's why discipline matters. Discipline is choosing your future self over your current feelings. It's showing up when no one claps. It's saying no to what's easy and yes to what's right every single day. And discipline without gratitude? That's just punishment. Gratitude turns suffering into fuel. It turns the struggle into sacred ground. Most people think gratitude is passive, something you feel when things go well. Real gratitude is aggressive. It's a fire that says, even now, especially now, I choose to rise. Be grateful for the fight, for the stretch, for the people who left, for the moments that broke you. Because those cracks, that's where the light enters. That's where your character is forged. You want to break free from average? Start with your perspective. Stop saying, why me? Start saying, try me. Because life will test you not to destroy you, but to reveal you. Storms don't come to ruin the strong. They come to expose the weak, to strip away the lies, to show you who's really in control and who's still living in a cage of excuses. There is no breakthrough without breakdown, no evolution without deconstruction. You must be willing to let go of who you were, to become who you're meant to be. And yes, it's terrifying, because average is known, average is safe, average has a map. But greatness? Greatness is a blank page. It dares you to write your own path. It dares you to face rejection, to lose, to fail, to risk it all. But it also promises you something average never will: freedom. Freedom of spirit, freedom of time, freedom of truth. Most people will never taste it because they are addicted to certainty, addicted to approval, addicted to the illusion of safety. But the man who chooses courage over certainty, he walks into the storm anyway. He doesn't wait for the fear to leave, he moves through it. He doesn't wait for all the answers, he begins with faith. He doesn't ask if he's worthy, he decides that he is. That decision, that single soul-shaking decision, can change everything. Because once you decide, truly decide, the universe starts moving, doors open, energy shifts, the people you need appear, the strength you forgot returns, and suddenly, the life you thought was a fantasy begins to materialize. It's not magic, it's alignment. When your belief matches your action, and your vision matches your discipline, reality bends. But most will never know this, because they never start. They keep waiting, planning, talking, dreaming, and the clock keeps ticking. One day becomes never, hope becomes regret, and they die with music still inside them. Don't let that be you. You are not here to blend in. You are here to stand out. You are not here to survive. You are here to thrive, not just to make a living, but to make a life. One that is lived with so much fire, so much truth, so much presence that the world cannot forget your name. And that begins now, with one choice, one thought, one moment of insane radical ownership. Radical ownership. Not the kind you post about online. Not the kind that's easy when life is smooth. I'm talking about the kind that wakes you up at 4 a.m. with a voice inside that says, no one is coming to save you, and that's the best news you'll ever hear. Because if no one is coming, that means you hold the power. That means it's not too late. That means you don't need permission. That means you can rise broken, confused, imperfect, and still become unstoppable. Most people stay average because they don't want that power. They think they do, they say they do, but real power comes with full responsibility. And responsibility is heavy. It doesn't let you blame. It doesn't let you hide. It drags you out into the light and demands that you lead. Average looks for someone to blame. Greatness takes the blame and still moves forward. It says, yes, I failed. Yes, I was afraid. Yes, I fell short. But watch me rise anyway. And that is where the real story begins. When you stop seeking validation and start seeking truth, when you stop asking the world to see you and start seeing yourself, when you finally understand that you don't need the world's permission to be powerful, you just need your own. Look at history. The greats weren't handed the throne. They earned it in blood, sweat, and unwavering belief. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he built, came back and rebuilt it into one of the most valuable empires in history. Why? Because he never lost the fire, never lost the vision, never gave up his authority over his own destiny. You can't buy that kind of power. You can't fake it. You must become it. And to become it, you must let go. Let go of the story that says you're not enough, that says you're too late, too old, too broken. That story is poison, and every time you tell it, you drink it. Every time you believe it, you shrink a little more into the shell of someone else's expectations. But you were never meant to shrink. You were meant to expand, to stretch, to roar, to take up space in this world like you belong here. Because you do, but you must act like it. You must step into rooms like your presence changes the air. You must speak like your voice is not a question, it's an answer. You must move like destiny is catching up with you. Because the second you believe you are worthy, the world starts treating you like it too. Most people stay average because they confuse humility with hiding. They think playing small is noble. It's not. Playing small is a betrayal of the gifts you've been given, of the potential you carry, of the lives you could touch if you dared to live loud. Humility isn't about denying your power, it's about using it to serve, to lead, to build, to give. Not from ego, but from overflow. Because when you own your greatness, you give others permission to rise too. That's how legacies are made. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not when the world applauds, but when your soul whispers, keep going, keep showing up, keep becoming. Because there is no finish line. There is no moment where you arrive. There is only the climb, the evolution, the decision over and over again to be better, not for applause, not for the record books, but because something inside you knows this is what you were born for. You weren't born to punch a clock and die with a resume. You weren't born to chase paychecks and forget your name in the process. You weren't born to repeat the cycles of fear and doubt that your ancestors couldn't break. You were born to break chains. You were born to rewrite stories, to defy odds, to build something no one saw coming, including yourself. But that version of you, the one who builds, he doesn't arrive by accident. He is forged. Forged through discipline when no one's watching. Forged through rejection that doesn't break you but refines you. Forged through late nights where you stare at the ceiling and choose not to quit. Forged through habits so boring, so mundane, they'd make the average man quit by Tuesday. But you're not him. You're not average. You are the outlier. The one who chooses identity over impulse, process over pride, long-term over right now. You understand that building a life worth living means sacrificing your need to be entertained. You sacrifice scrolling so you can build. You sacrifice complaining so you can create. You sacrifice being liked so you can lead. And that makes you rare. That makes you dangerous. That makes you free. Because you are no longer seduced by the trivial, you are focused on the eternal. On doing work that matters, on being someone your future children will tell stories about, not because you were perfect, but because you refused to be average. That refusal, that rebellion against mediocrity, it is sacred. Hold on to it, fan it like a flame, because there will be days when it dims, days when doubt knocks louder than destiny, days when you will feel like you're walking in circles while the world races ahead. But hear this now. Progress is not loud. Success is not viral. Greatness is not instant. It is earned, quietly, slowly, relentlessly. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not this year, but one day, you will wake up in a life that you built with your own two hands. And it will hit you. Every step, every tear, every silent sacrifice was worth it because you broke free. And when that moment comes, when you wake up not in a fantasy, but in the reality you fought for, you will not be the same man who began this journey. You will be someone reborn, not because the world handed you success, but because you dragged it out of the dirt with bloody hands and unwavering faith. You bled for your growth. You starved for your vision. You suffered for your freedom. And that suffering gave birth to something the average will never know. Truth. Not the kind that lives in books or quotes, the kind that pulses through your chest, the kind you earn only through experience, through war. Through the discipline of showing up when everything in you screamed, quit. Most people stay average because they listen to that voice. But not you. You silenced it. You rewired your thoughts. You trained your mind like a soldier. And now the enemy isn't fear, it isn't failure, it isn't even doubt. It's apathy. And you have no room for apathy in your kingdom. You've burned the bridge back to mediocrity. You've sacrificed too much. You've come too far. Now you rise. You rise with purpose, with presence, with power. Every day, you walk like a man who knows who he is, not because someone told you, but because you've earned it. You've stood in the fire and refused to melt. You've fallen 7 times and risen 8. You've looked in the mirror, stared your demons in the eye, and said, you will not win. And that is what greatness looks like. It's not flashy, it's not perfect, it's not convenient, it's real, it's earned, it's you. So what now? Now you lead. Now you build. Now you serve. You don't just climb the mountain, you light it up so others can find the path. Because legacy isn't what you take with you, it's what you leave behind. Your story is no longer about escape, it's about elevation. No longer about avoiding pain, it's about embracing it, using it, transmuting it into gold. This is how you break free. You wake up and choose identity over impulse. You go to war with the parts of you still addicted to average. You become obsessed not with outcomes, but with becoming unrecognizable to the man you used to be. You build without applause. You grind without a guarantee. You believe when no one else does. Because belief isn't about evidence. Belief is about decision. It's the backbone of creation, the fire behind every invention, revolution, and empire. It's the force that pulled electricity out of darkness, that sent rockets to the moon, that took men with nothing but grit and bent the world to their vision. That force is in you. It has always been in you. It just needed to be activated. So here's the truth you've been waiting for. You don't need more motivation. You need to make a choice. A choice to kill your old story. A choice to burn the script written for you by fear, by failure, by family, by society. A choice to rewrite your name in ink that cannot be erased. Do not die with your potential intact. Do not go quietly into the night of conformity. Do not pass your dreams onto the graveyard with the excuse, I never had the chance. You are the chance. You are the miracle. You are the chosen one, not by fate, but by decision. So rise now. Stand taller. Speak louder. Love deeper. Work harder. Dream wilder. Live freer. And when the voices come, the ones that say, you're not enough, the ones that whisper, stay safe, the ones that plead, just be normal, smile. Smile, because you know the truth, they never will. You were never meant to be average. You were meant to be great. Now go prove it.